Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Samantha. Good morning, Mad Tidfoil Hatter, and all others joining in the live chat. Good morning to all of you listening all across the lines. So, I think we got, let's just see here. I believe we got, it looks like we got Rumble to work. So we're on, let's see here. Let's do this here. This is True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. I'm Dr. Shawn. And we're live now on Rumble. I just checked. Good, good, good. We're live on Facebook. We're live on X. We're live on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile, by the way. Follow me at X, all the little links and all that stuff. Follow me there. Follow me on Quora, Quora. That's some more edgy stuff. I answer some really hard questions there. So Instagram, we're live on Instagram right now as well. So follow me at all the places and all the things. I don't know how any of it works. I'm lucky that Rumble worked. I don't know. Crazy. Let me know how sound is. Is it too loud? Is it not loud enough? Is it rumbly? What is it? So today, True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. That's where in-depth biblical teaching meets the richness of Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek language, culture, and context. All I'm trying to do is teach how God told me to teach, do what he told me to do. That's my goal. By the way, that is the defaced book. I figured out how to put it on screen. That is the defaced book that one of my dearest friends of all time, she is an exceptional artist. She's exceptional. If she ever spent time on it, she would be just unreal. But she's so busy. She does a million things at once, 10,000 jobs. She does them all well. She would tell you she doesn't, but she does. And so this is my book. This is the cover. And then let me just bring this one. Let us see. Boom. There you go. What about that? Here is, I'll cover my face up. Face for radio, my mother always said. Somebody sent me a thing the other day. Did your mom actually say that? I mean, I know she's gone, but... Anyway, there's the back cover. Front cover. This is actually a bald eagle. And I was with my dear friends Jerry and Myra. We were in a place... It was a National Wildlife Refuge, Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge. It's an incredible place. And I shot this from, I would guess, 500 yards away. I don't know. But it actually, I'll have to post a picture of the actual book. The actual book cover. I just thought when I saw him up there in between, this just seemed perfectly framed, you know. Doesn't it seem like that to you? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I'm a photographer. Well, I used to be. I'm not anymore. But anyway, yeah, that was fun. That was a fun day. Anyhow, there it is. Lulu.com, Lulu.com. If you search for Dr. Shawn, Shawn, Michael, normal spelling, Greener, Greener, you will find it there. And it'll take about a week to a week and a half to get to you. They're really streamlining their shipping there. The difference between buying it there, and it's available everywhere, anywhere you search it, it'll be there, is we get $1 at the other places, at the big places. So suffice it to say, meh. I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you. But the ministry gets $1, and I put everything that's made off of it back into the ministry. So pay for all this stuff. So far, you know, we haven't made a ton of money. We've made a little bit of money, but we're nowhere close to what we've invested in it. So I'll tell you, I love I love when you guys have questions. I really, really do. I love it. It means a lot to me that you will take the time to type up questions. What I would love, a lot of you have asked, I don't have money. How can I help the channel? Well, one of the ways that you can help the channel is if you have a question. This is what I suggest you do. Number one, first of all, subscribe. It's free. Click on the little bell. It's also free. The little bell, what that does is that gives you the ability to have all the notifications. Then, I think, if you like it, if you don't like it, I don't want you to lie with your like. The little thumbs up means you like it. And that would be cool if you would do that. And click on the thumbs up. And then your question that you have, type it out. You can type it out somewhere else if you want, if it's easier for you, and copy and paste it into a comment on the page. I think that would be, very advisable. And if it's easier for you to do that. And then if you want to email it to me or text me if you have my number, or if you email me, I'll probably give you my number. And, you can do that, do both of those things, and I'll answer it in both places. So I would love for you to do that. What that's called in the social media world, especially the YouTube algorithm world, is engagement. It's engagement. And you need engagement for them to send this to, they won't send it. They won't show it to people, even give them the opportunity. They won't ever see it in their feed. This is a tiny, tiny channel. I think we have 630 something subscribers, which I'm grateful for every one of those. But the fact of the matter of it is, the more people that do what I just described, the more people get to see it. It's a weird algorithm. Now, I want to share with you something that I'm very disappointed in YouTube. Google in general is not friendly toward faith. It's just not how they are. We've all hoped that they would get better, but doesn't seem in my case. Maybe something I'm doing wrong, but I've been trying to invest. I set a goal this month of $200 over and above what all the costs are for all the subscriptions that you have to have and all this stuff. I set a goal for a $200 marketing budget, which is nothing. Some of these big channels, they have $20,000 budgets. In my case, I'm pretty sure I filled everything out the way it's supposed to be filled out. I don't know. However, I got a notice this morning saying my ad was rejected because, and basically what I was trying to do is promote episode 8. What does his prayer, the Lord's Prayer, what does that mean? I thought that'd be a good episode to try to promote because I think it would bless people, help people seeking faith, seeking to understand faith, all of these things. I was trying to do that. And I don't, I'm not a marketer, so I don't know what the right thing to do is, but I followed all the directions and typed everything out. And it was rejected because it's religious. So that's a bummer. Faux show, that's a bummer. But what can I do? So I'm going to revisit it this afternoon and just see what's what. It is what it is. So while I'm thinking of it, hello to our Twitch audience. I don't understand Twitch, but my friends Martin and Martzel, they understand it. And so they said, hey, you got to be on Twitch. And so all of our shows stream to Twitch. And I appreciate them. I really do. I really, really do. I don't understand it, but I appreciate it. So I wanted to share that with you about Google, because Google owns YouTube. I don't know if you know that. Some people don't know that. I didn't connect the two probably when I first got started, I was like, why is Google asking me for information on my YouTube channel? And then I learned that Google owns YouTube. Anywho, so yeah, I'm bummed out. I had finally bit the bullet. I saved up and I said, okay, here we go. We're going to do this ad. And it said that it could potentially show the channel to between 4,000 and 9,400 people. And I thought, well, that's good. That's better than I'm getting now. You know, people at least see it, and maybe they'll sign up. Maybe they won't. I don't know. I just don't know. But then it got rejected because it was religion. And that's a super, super bummer. Super, super bummer. So anyhow, today's episode, I've been very excited to deliver it to you because the origin of it, I really, really appreciate. Samantha is a longtime listener. She's a lovely, lovely person, hard worker, gets after it every day. And yet she makes the time, as all of you do, to watch the channel. And I really, really appreciate it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I know I say it every time, but I say it because it's true. If it wasn't true, I wouldn't say it. Anyway, all that said to say, Samantha asked an incredible question. And also, by the way, this is bonus. I thought of this last night. And Roger, if you're listening, which he usually listens on playback, but if you're listening, I answer or I addressed that thing that we did an email, but I didn't get your permission to share what you wrote verbatim. So I'm going to kind of go around that a little bit and answer things without giving up personal information till I would have. Roger's a very cerebral guy. You should see the things he writes. I'd love to interview him about the loss of his daughter on this channel. It's just incredible what he writes, his journey. I'd actually love to write a book on grief with him. But he's really, really brilliant man, and he suffered incredible loss, and he's powered his way through faith and the loss, the grief, the suffering, all of these things. It's just incredible. So I answered that at the end, but I'm going to share something else with you now. If I look haggard, well, it's true. It's true. Samantha says, "Thank you so much, Dr. Shawn. Those were such kind words." It's true. The truth doesn't always have to hurt, folks. It doesn't always have to hurt. Some of you who follow me on Facebook may have seen this fellow that I did this post that, air quotes, went viral. I don't know. That's such a stupid saying. But I did this post. There's this lady, Michelle Bishop. She's a believer. She and her family are believers. They're amazing people. They're very, they're get after it, small business owners, her and her husband. And this thing happened with this fella who is a known grifter. He's a known con man. He's conned people out of millions of dollars. And anyway, so this thing happened between them, and he made a racial thing out of it. And so I wrote this post anyway. So people will occasionally pop up and say, they will say, "You're a racist, you're a MAGA, you know, Jesus freak," whatever. I like when they call me Jesus freak, by the way. I don't know about y'all. I like it. You can call me a Jesus freak all you want. But calling a bunch of names but being called a racist, I can't stand that, because my whole life I've never been a racist, and anybody that knows me knows that to be true. But what's funny is, they throw that word around a whole lot these days, and it's really lost its punch. But speaking of punch, I don't tolerate it. And I always call them out. I say, "Hey, keyboard commando, let's see if you'll say that to my face, because I might be infirmed, but I'm not out of the game yet. And I've been down some real rough roads, and I have some skills, and I'll still use them." and I don't tolerate it. I just don't tolerate it. Anyway, so that's what he called me. So if he pops up in, because he follows me, that's the weird thing. I think I remember telling you guys I had an actual radio show called The Collision, God and Country, The Collision of Faith and Politics. It had that years ago, and we had a gazillion listeners. I didn't know how to monetize, so I didn't. And in a way, I don't care. I mean, it would have been nice to have that number of listeners monetized. Would have made a massive difference financially in our life, but I didn't. And you can't unring a bell, and so I can't lament it. But so I had this show, and this organization called Media Matters. Horrible people, and this show was a very edgy, the collision of faith and politics, as you might imagine, and so unfortunately, they followed me, and they would show up where I would be speaking. They would. Every place where I was on social media, they would show up there. They'd subscribe. They didn't care. They'd subscribe, and then they would just pow, 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 pow. Well, one time, several times, but one particular time, someone made physical threats against me, and obviously I reported to law enforcement, and because I used to be one, and then. But then they continued, and law enforcement didn't do anything. So I have some resources that I still am okay with using, and I just I don't know. I'm not one to shrink away. I think bullies and punks. I think I was never the police officer that you spit on. Oh, that's a bad idea. Spitting on me is a bad idea. Oh my. And back then, you spit on a police officer, that's assault. And you would regret it. You would regret it. I was one that was not going to let that slide. And so anyway, it didn't happen very often with me. But all that being said, I just, in my career, my past, I'm not one to take, I'll take some stuff. I have a long fuse, but some stuff I won't take at all. And being called a racist is, sometimes I'll laugh them off if they're stupid. If they're just dumb people, I will laugh them off. But one particular time, this guy making threats against me and my family and all that stuff. Well, I have resources, and I was able to find out exactly where he lives and all of his very, very personal, private information, going very deep. And I paid him a visit. And I influenced him after he peed his pants, literally, at his mother's front door. Grown man. In his, it was 40, he was 41. And just disheveled and smelly and just like you would imagine. And I explained to him the value in thinking before he lets his fingers fly over a keyboard, and especially when he threatens people. I just don't stand it. And I think bullies bully because nobody stands up to them. And I say this all the time, and this is, you do what you want. Your view may vary. But these people setting fire to Teslas and Tesla dealerships and making all these threats and, Trump, trying to damage Trump properties and even threatening the lives of Mr. Trump, President Trump, and Mr. Musk. No. There needs to be hundreds of thousands of us, even more, standing up and standing in between and saying, no, not today. Not today. So here it is. Here's the question. I've got to get off that topic. It'll just get me mad. I have to tell you, when Samantha sent me this question, I started to talk about why I was so tired. Sorry about that. I jumped off of that. It just popped in my head. You were talking about being so tired. Well, I'm so tired because I wrote a song. I've been writing a song for about 2.5 weeks. Just something, it just kept nicking at my mind in this particular topic. And finally, last night, I just got some inspiration or whatever to kind of complete it. I don't know if it's a song or a poem, but more like a song, like a soulful ballad, but with some victory to it. Anyway, I'm going to share that with you. It's real rough. I've barely edited it. So, but I do want to share it with you because, hey, I share these kind of things with you. I have probably 250 poems and songs and things like that. So anyway, I'll share that with you in a minute. But this was an excellent question from Samantha. And she says, I know Adam and Eve were created in the image of God. But Genesis 5:3 says, streaming error. At Dr. Shawn Greener. We just got a big error here. What in the world? X dropped off. Boy, you just never can tell about these technology. I pick up one and I lose another. I know Adam and Eve were created in the image of God, but Genesis 5:3 says, and Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness after his image and named him Seth. So I take this to mean that Adam and Eve were created as perfect beings, parentheses, that had free will. But when sin entered and they fell, then everyone after that was made in Adam's image, a fallen image. So are we, fallen beings, still created in the image of God, or are we now made in the image of Adam until we get our glorified bodies in the end? How about that question, right? That's a good one. Truth be told, that's a good one. I really, really like it. So anyway, I like the question. I think it was good, and I'm sure you do too. So anyway, I finished this song. We're going to get to that in a second. I finished a song last night, and it's rough. I'm going to share it with you, and you can laugh at me if you want. I'd like to read to you the lyrics draft because maybe this is kind of what... Hold on. Jarva. I love me some coffee. I like to drink it right well. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, in comments, who was that? Who was I doing an imitation of? I like them French fried potatoes. Mm-hmm. Anyway, maybe you or someone you love can relate to this. It's rough. I'm not going to lie to you. It's rough. Rough as in topical, rough as in I haven't refined it. But I thought about some folks, how hard it must be, right? Just to live. Some folks, they've made some bad choices. So what brought this up was I mentioned about a message that I did called Hunting Dead Lions. It's actually from Scripture, that term. And I talked about, what was behind it. Sling Blade, that's right. Samantha wins. Ding, ding, ding. She's a double winner today. So the big win, the football, the 40-year-old high school football quarterback, still wearing his Letterman jacket. It smells to high heaven. It's all ratty. He's all ratty. He's overweight. He's out of shape. He's out of shape mentally, physically, spiritually, all of it. And he's been afraid to try anything because he says, I'll never, ever be able to equal that. What if I don't? What if I try something I never can do better than I did? And then maybe there's the hunting dead lion where it's you messed up bad and you just can't get past it. You say, it's too bad. The mistake I made, the choice I made, knowing the thing I did that was wrong, I can't I can't get past it, you know? And so you just keep ruminating on it. And there's some that are in addiction and unhealthy spiritually, emotionally, physically. And some just big stuff is going wrong. And they just can't climb out of it. Maybe that's you. Maybe it's your family member. Good morning, Lynette. Maybe they took their own life. Maybe they gave up on themselves. They just felt like, I can't do it. I can't go on. Maybe you know somebody like that. I don't know if you do or you don't. You know if you do or you don't. But the name of this is my working title, God Never Quit on Me. And I wrote this I don't write music. I don't know how to write music. I can't read music. I sing a little bit. I used to play the piano a little bit before I got hurt. But I can't read music. And so I have the idea, the melody and all that I want, but I can't do it myself. So here goes. Might as well. The wind was tundra cold. The night was stark black. I was sitting on the bridge's rail, just leaning back. 1,000 bad memories running wild in my head. Every heartbreak, every trial. I whispered prayers I thought no one would hear. I felt like my soul was drowning in fear. With a mountain of dreams all torn apart, I was holding my breath at the edge of my heart. But then I saw a man walking down the street, shoulders low but steady on his feet. I knew his face from way back when. He once had nothing, but he refused to bend. Maybe his dream wasn't just handed down. Maybe he built it from falling and standing his ground. While I was quitting, he kept pushing through, turning his pain into something brand new. And I heard a voice deep inside of me. Son, I never quit on you, so don't quit on me. I climbed down from that railing slow, feet on the stone. I was a heart once shattered. Now I felt less alone. The dawn was breaking, gold across the eastern sky. And for the first time in years, I understood why. I straightened my back. I wiped my face dry. That mountain of failures, I learned to climb. 'Cause mercy still breathes and grace still flows. And now I've got life, and I refuse to let go. I remembered that man working hard day after day. He kept the fire going even when the embers decayed. If he could rise when the world said no, then maybe I too could find my own way to go. I was once the lightning strike, wild, fierce, and fast, burning bright but never meant to last, flashing through lives, leaving acrid smoke behind, running from hope like I'd lost my mind. But now I know there's the better way, to shine on with purpose and steady each day. From lightning flash to a steady glow, I'm not just a destructive fire. I'm learning to show that maybe my dreams won't just be handed down, but I'll build them strong every day on this solid ground. I'm changing from being the lightning to being the light. I still face life's storms, but now I push on through, turning my pain into something brand new. And that voice keeps whispering softly and tenderly, son, I never quit on you, so don't quit on me. I won't quit on this fight inside. I won't lay down until I still can rise. God held on when I let go, and now it's my turn to start walking home. Maybe my dream won't just be handed down, but I'll build it strong on this solid ground. I'll face life's storms. I'll push on through, turning my pain into something brand new. And listening to that voice that keeps whispering softly and tenderly, son, I never quit on you, so don't quit on me. Well, the nights are still cold, but I've found that warm flame. My life isn't over. Now it's just changed. With every step now, his love I see, because my God never quits on me. Father, I thank you for this venue. I thank you for these people listening both live now and those who will listen later on, whatever and wherever they're listening. I thank you for them. I thank you that you've given us your word and you've given us curiosity about your word. I thank you that you care enough about us to give us this word, and I pray that I would do it justice in the answering of this question. Thank you for this dear listener, both of them, who have asked questions that I'll share today. I pray that the folks listening will be blessed, that they'll be lifted. I ask that you forgive me of my sins so that my prayers might be heard. In the name of your matchless Son, Yeshua, my Redeemer and my friend. Amen. Samantha asked, image of God or image of man? She says, hey, Dr. Shawn, excited for tonight's show. I love hearing that, by the way. Not sure I'll catch it live, but I'll definitely watch the playback Monday at work. I just listened to part 1 from a few days ago, and I have a question. I know Adam and Eve were created in the image of God, but Genesis 5:3 says, and Adam lived 130 years, and he begot a son in his own likeness after his image, and named him Seth. So I take this to mean that Adam and Eve were created as perfect beings that had free will. But when sin entered and they fell, then everyone after that was made in Adam's image, a fallen image. So are we, fallen beings, still created in the image of God, or are we now made in the image of Adam until we get our glorified bodies in the end? If this is touched on in part 2, please let me know. I'll be watching that first thing Monday when I get to work, and I cannot wait. Well, I'll say to the audience, Samantha, what I said to you. Your question is excellent. It's an excellent question. It gets to the heart of identity, sin, and redemption. And to answer this biblically, we need to examine some passages. Genesis 1:26 through 27, Genesis 5:3. And then we need to look at the Hebrew language and cultural context. Now, the original image of God, Zelim Elohim. So, Genesis 1:26-27 states thus. Then God said, let us make humankind in our image, in the likeness of ourselves, and let them rule over the fish in the sea, and the birds in the air, and the animals, and over all the earth, and over every crawling creature that crawls on the earth. So God created humankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Right? The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So the Hebrew term, Zelim Elohim, it means image of God. And demut means likeness. So the term used there is demut, which means likeness in Hebrew. This is what it means. So the terms don't necessarily imply physical resemblance. And it's important that we understand this distinction because Hebrew and Aramaic are what's referred to as dynamic and phenomenal languages, because depending on how the words are used, it can represent different things. So when we say image and likeness, these terms like Tzelim Elohim, image of God, and Demut, likeness, they don't necessarily imply physical resemblance. Hey, we look like this. And people say, well, God, we look like God. God looks like us. Slow down, slam dancer. Maybe not, right? We don't know. We'll find out, though. These terms, it's more about function here, where this is being used, and the way it's being used is more about function, character, and representation. Wow, that's something, isn't it? Function here. The function, character, and representation. You know, in ancient Near Eastern culture, to be made in someone's image was to be their representative or their reflection. So Adam and Eve, as God's imagers, were meant to reflect his moral, relational, and ruling attributes on earth. But then there's a shift. There's a shift in Genesis 5:3, the image of Adam versus the image of God. And it's so cool that Samantha studies, and I love when people do this, because I like this. I like finding stuff like this. There was a shift, and Samantha picked up on it. Genesis 5:3, this is complete Jewish Bible. After Adam lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own image, in his own likeness, after his image, and he named him Shet, which is Seth in Hebrew. Shet, S-H-E-T, transliterated. So let me read this again. After Adam lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own likeness after his image, and he named him Shet, or Seth. Now, notice the shift. Instead of being described as in God's image, Seth is in Adam's image and likeness. So what happened? Sin entered the world. Genesis 3, if you want to read about that, Genesis 3. And Adam and Eve experienced spiritual death and separation from God. They still, we have to be fair about this. They still retained aspects of the divine image, but now their nature was corrupted. So Tzelim Elohim is not lost, but fractured. Image of God. It's not lost. It's fractured. And I'll tell you, the more I think about some stuff, I ponder on some things here and there. It's as though the image is marred, like a broken mirror. I'll give you an example. This is probably too much information, but I shave in the shower. You can see I don't shave much because I have a beard, but I shave in the shower, and I have this little mirror that is supposedly, you can't fog it and all this stuff. Well, that's a load. Everything I've ever tried, non-fog mirror. Pff. Anyway, this thing is junk, but I still have it, and it's not all the way ruined. But the mirror material on the back of the thing is starting to, the image is not clear. It's not complete. It still reflects. I mean, I can still shave, but it's imperfect, right? It reflects imperfectly. And that's an example here of a marred image, like a broken mirror, still reflects, but imperfectly. Now, in Hebraic thought, human beings were still capable of reflecting God's image, but sin now distorts that ability. Good morning, Miss Joyce. So, the heart of the question, are we born in Adam's image or are we born in God's? So, Shaul, or the Apostle Paul, helps clarify this in 1 Corinthians 15, 48 through 49, by the way. President Trump one time was quoted as saying to Corinthians, he was quoting a scripture, reading a scripture during a speech that he was giving, and he said to Corinthians, and he got made fun of by ungodly people who don't have any faith at all. They weren't faith people. They were just, oh, who says that? It's stupid. They're so stupid. The president's dumb. Well, actually, if you go back into certain times, many centuries ago, that is how they said it. 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians, 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy, because they were different letters. So he wasn't as wrong as people made him out to be. And I thought, well, stupid, make fun of people. They're not even Bible people. They're not even Christians. They're not followers of the way. They're just trying to poke fun, dig at the guy. Anyway, 1 Corinthians or 1 Corinthians 15:48 through 49. People born of dust are like the man of dust, and people born from heaven are like the man from heaven. And just as we have born, it's time for a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath. I almost went over that too fast. And just as we have borne the image of the man of dust, so also we will bear the image of the man from heaven. Oh. People born of dust are like the man of dust, and people born from heaven are like the man from heaven. And just as we have borne the image of the man of dust, so also we will bear the image of the man from heaven. Have you ever heard such a beautiful thing? So beautifully and artfully presented. Paul was good with words, and he also got it. So this verse reinforces that we inherit the fallen nature of Adam, but through Yeshua, Jesus, the perfect Tselem Elohim, the image of God, we are restored. So Romans 8:29 reads that believers are being conformed to the image of the Son. That means while we are born into Adam's broken likeness through salvation and sanctification, the good news, God is restoring us back to his true image. Thanks be to God. He didn't have to do it, but he did it. I'm thankful. I don't know about you. I hope you are. I hope you're thankful. I hope that it influences you to hear that. While we were born into Adam's broken likeness, through salvation and sanctification, God's restoring us back into his true image. Restoring, not restored, restoring, day by day. Day by day. Little by little, inch by inch, life is a cinch. But then we have the Hebraic perspective, because that's important. Imaging is a function. It's not just a status. Imaging is a function, not just a status. You see, in Hebrew thought, being in God's image is about function, not just about essence. That means that our actions, how we live, how we love, it all matters. How we live, how we love, how we rule, how we obey. They determine how well we reflect God's image. Now look, let me just say, and this is important, really, really important. Our actions matter. They're in the postmodern Western evangelical church. There's this mistaken, misguided. I don't know what I would call it. Hard to say what I would call it. I guess I can't think of it. But there's this wrongness in the postmodern Western evangelical church that says, you know what, this is the age of grace, not the age of law, so actions really don't matter. They really don't matter. How we live, how we obey, how we love, how we rule, right? We're to have dominion. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? This is what the postmodern Western evangelical church is trying to tell you. Doesn't matter anymore. Covered by grace, so actions don't matter anymore. I find that terribly unfortunate. I really, really do. How we live, how we love, how we rule, how we obey, how we are with our families, how we are with our neighbors and our friends and our communities, all of it matters. How we love. Are we loving, kind people? I don't mean are you a pushover. You don't expect to be a pushover or a pacifist. People that tell you you're supposed to do that, they're wrong. They are wrong. And it is unfortunate. Terribly unfortunate. But it is what it is. We find ourselves sometimes, like in the song I wrote. If you missed that, go back and listen to it. It's nothing incredible, but it's rough. I'm just kind of working on it. Like in that song, that person is on the bridge. They're sitting on the rail of the bridge, right? They're going to jump off that bridge. Now, look, I've dived at people as they were trying to jump off the bridge to their death. Sometimes successfully and sometimes not. Not the funnest thing, right? But the person in my song, they've lacked perspective. They've lacked clarity. They've lacked any element of positivity. Maybe you can identify with that. Maybe you or somebody you love. Maybe that's the case. Absolutely how we live, how we love. How do we love the people that we're supposed to love? How do we love them? Are we legitimate in how we love them? You know, nobody likes the word rule. Not these days. Nobody likes the word rule. But look, we're in charge of some things, right? If you own a home, you're in charge of taking care of that home. You're in charge of that. Good point, Mad Tinfoil Hatter. I just posted that on the screen so other folks can see that. It's very, very good. Really, really good. You have a home, you're in charge of it. You have an automobile, you're in charge of taking care of it. Yeah, you may say, well, I take my car to the dealership, or I take my car over to the mechanic. You know, I do these things. Yeah, but you're still responsible for it. You need to get the oil changed in your car. You need to rotate your tires. They're not going to come to your house and go, hey, we noticed that your tires need rotating. They're wearing a little odd. It's time you go ahead and you rotate. We're here. We're going to do it. Same with lawn care. You know, you have a lawn, unless you live in some sort of HOA that they do it. But you're responsible for your lawn care, whether you pay somebody else to do it or whether you do it yourself. And if you don't do it, guess what? Folks are going to rise up against you. Your neighbors, when they start with snakes and rats and all that, because of your nasty lawn, your untrimmed trees and bushes and all of this, they're going to say, hey, you better get after that. You're in charge of it. You own it. You better own it and take care of it. we rule stuff, right? You rule your own body. Now, what happened to me isn't my fault. I wasn't doing anything wrong. A guy driving, a 19-year-old driving in a way that no one should ever drive, killed his supposed friend, killed me. I came back to life for some reason. God had other plans, I guess. And he gave to me a life of terrible and increasing pain and increasing dysfunction and financial struggle, physical struggle, emotional struggle, all of these things. I mean, I didn't choose that. He didn't have rule over his discipline. He didn't have rule. And the person in the song, the way I'm imagining it, the person on that bridge ledge or the railing of the bridge, he was abdicating control and responsibility and discipline. Nobody likes discipline. I love the song, Trust and Obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. You got to trust and you got to obey. And the things he says to obey, you got to do. I'm as guilty as anybody else, if not more. When we don't do what we're directed to do, the smart thing to do in our basic lives, right? If you allow yourself to become an alcoholic, you allow yourself to become a drug addict, then that's going to make the path harder. If you constantly are making excuses, if you're constantly quitting, giving up on yourself when it gets hard, giving up on your family, if you have a family that you're responsible to take care of, when you do all those things, man, oh man, you failed to execute and exert rule over your own life. I gained weight for myriad reasons. My own fault. It's nobody else's fault. Yeah, it made it a lot harder when I was in this crash and, I couldn't do a lot of things. But I can do something. And I tell you what I can do. I can control that fork going to my mouth. So I own the need to lose weight. I own that. That's on me. That's not on anybody else, right? And, your thing may be something different. I don't know what your thing is. But then obey. Live, love, rule, and obey. Man, I know we don't like that. We don't like it. In the modern world, we don't like the term, especially the postmodern Western evangelical church. You listen to praise a lot of, now I was jamming out. Let me just tell you this. Literally 26 seconds before I pressed the go live button, Charity Gale I was in full on worship listening to her. And I have a whole playlist, of her stuff and similar and Selah and similar and David Phelps and similar and Gaither Vocal Band and similar and so many. I mean, there's such great options. But the point I'm making is some worship songs now are they're silly. They're silly. It's all about me. Broken. I'm so broken. Why am I so broken? And searching for feelings, the feeling of, the charlatans, the pulpit pimps. Oh, I feel the presence of the Lord in the house tonight. And the Lord is telling you, dig deep in that pocket as a seed of faith, I talk about that in my book, True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn Michael Greener. True Word Faith for Life, means what it says. It's why this program is called True Word Faith for Life, right? It's for life every day. Every day you've got to exert control. You've got to exert some rule over your own body if you want to be healthy. Look, things happen to us, not our fault, but we still have to do what we need to do, what we know is reasonable to do to care for ourselves, to help ourselves to be better. They say when you know better, you do better, right? A little bit of a silly saying, because there are lots of people that know better that don't do better. Be in the police world for 10 minutes. Ride in a police car. I remember I had an anti-police activist ride with me, was assigned to me. She applied. She wanted to be, she was really anti-police long before defund the police was a thing. And I said, ride with a police officer one time. Go through one tour. You'll learn better. You'll learn better. You'll be like, my lands. Right? Well, she did. She signed all the waivers. She did all the stuff. She signed all the waivers, and she came along for a tour. Within an hour and 20 minutes, she was begging to go back. She was begging, take me to home. I do not want to be out on these streets. People are acting a fool. They're dangerous. They're crazy. They're disrespectful. They're their own worst enemy. What I thought was, isn't. People aren't exerting rule over their own behavior. They're not obeying basic rules, and they're not obeying God. So if we do all those things, that determines how good our mirror is reflecting God's image. You say, well, people don't ever listen to me when I talk about faith. They don't ever listen to me. Well, do they see how you live? They look at you as a mirror of God. Tzelem Elohim. They look at you at that and they say, well, I see how he or she lives, loves, rules, and obeys, and the image is not good. It's that mirror in Dr. Shawn's shower that's terrible. Man, tinfoil hatter's right. Sometimes folks just can't get out of their own way. They're their own worst enemy. But you see, even in our fallen state, we're still image bearers. But our ability to fulfill that role is impaired by sin. Yeshua restores us not just spiritually, but also in how we live out God's purpose. God has a purpose. We say this, nowadays. We say this really flippantly, I would say, almost bumper stickery. God has a purpose and a plan for your life, so bumper stickery. But it is true. He has a purpose for you. He has, we can throw rocks all we want at Rick Warren. We can throw rocks at him. But the purpose-driven life was one of the most profound non-Bible books ever written. It had such a profound impact on faith all around the world. Saved lives. Maybe it's not perfect theologically. We can quibble with that. We can quibble with his stances, kind of waffly and this and that and the other. But, I would have Rick Warren over to lunch and Kay any day. And I wouldn't be embarrassed of it. I do pictures with him. I don't ever do pictures with celebrities. Even when I was protecting celebrities, we didn't do the pose thing. In fact, if you worked for me at Executive Protection Team and you did that, you asked a celebrity or prominent person, hey, can I get a picture with you? To hang on your wall to show everybody, you'd be fired for that. I'd fire you, probably on the spot. So anyway, but I'd have them over to my house. I'd have them over, and I'd be proud to do it. Right? A lot of preachers out there, none of us are perfect. I'm especially not perfect. But there are famous preachers out there that are highly regarded that are not perfect. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. We are all fallible, but we have this thing that we're just waiting for people to fall and fail. I don't know where you are in that. But I know this. Yeshua restores us not just spiritually, but also in how we live out God's purposes. It's up to us to live out his purposes. So the question is, are we still in God's image? Yes, we are still in the image of God, but that image is corrupted by sin. Are you listening? We are born in Adam's likeness. We're fallen. But in Messiah, we are being, deep breath, in Messiah, we are being transformed back to the true Delim Elohim, the image of God. Full restoration happens when we receive glorified bodies. Samantha asked about that, and that's in Philippians 3:21. But even now, we're called to reflect God's image as best as we can through Yeshua. I say as best as we can because, listen, folks, there is nothing easy. That the man I wrote about, sitting on that railing, feet over the edge, sure death down below. And he's leaning back against that bridge thing that's coming up and the bridge structure, and he's leaning back. And he's just waiting to go. He's just waiting to go. I'm done with this. I'm done with this life. I'm tired of failing. I'm tired of letting everybody down. I'm tired of letting myself down. I'm tired of letting everybody down. Life is too hard. It's just harder on me than it is anybody else. So I'm just going to we have to live as best as we can through Yeshua. There are lots of preachers who will tell you that that's easy. Just trust in God. It's easy. Here's the problem. It ain't easy. People that tell you, oh, salvation is easy. Salvation is easy. It's just all about, praying this prayer. I always follow that up with, but the life afterward ain't so easy. It is not so easy, folks. The closer you get to God, the more the enemy will try to tear you down. So Genesis 5:3, it doesn't mean we lost God's image. It means we inherited a marred version of it. But through Yeshua, we are actively being reshaped into his perfect image until the day of final restoration. And there ain't nothing easy about it. We have a big role there. Samantha, great question. Thank you so much for taking the time to type it out. I really appreciate it. So Roger, I told you about Roger in the beginning of the broadcast. If you joined us in the middle of the broadcast, go back and listen to the beginning. It's worth it. I forgot to ask Roger if I could, his question, not really question, but his writing is incredible. It's so cerebral. By the way, somebody asked me the other day, why, I must have shown my hands, why are your fingers different? This got cut off. I was, I think, 5 years old in a door. Cut right off. Anyway, yeah, it was nasty. It was terrible. Anyway, so Roger asked a question about, or made a statement about our days are numbered. So he so eloquently said this really beautiful thing, which if I get his permission, I'll put it in the comments. So I said to him, great writing and thoughtful representation of your perspective. It's thought-provoking and aligns in some ways with Dr. Skip Moen's approach to biblical interpretation, which often challenges traditional theological assumptions by examining Hebrew language, culture, and historical context. So let's break it down. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Questions surrounded suffering and Job and all of this, and you'll kind of pick up on it as I go here. This, I don't have long left. This isn't long. So I say to Roger, you correctly identify this as Job's response to his suffering, not necessarily a doctrinal statement about God's character, but in Hebrew thought context is everything. In Hebrew thought context is everything. Job 121 is descriptive, not prescriptive, right? So don't miss the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Sometimes we bumper sticker grief and we go, well, don't ever say this. If you're ever around somebody who has experienced a terrible loss, don't ever say, well, the Lord needed your baby more than you did. The Lord needed another angel up in heaven. The Lord wants or needs nothing. That's not how it works. Anyway, I'm going off script. So Job, maybe if you're taking notes, Job 121 is descriptive, not prescriptive, meaning it records Job's words, but it doesn't necessarily declare some eternal theological truth. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Many traditional doctrines are based on passages that are misunderstood horribly. Part of my ministry here is to help you. Now, I don't throw rocks at people. I don't spend time throwing rocks at ministries. If somebody asks me, what do I think of this ministry? And I know a fair bit about them, I'll give them my perspective. And, you do you, boo. People have free will. They do what they want to do. Anyway, and people have opinions and perspectives about me and my ministry. Oh, I know him. I knew him when he was, 10, or I knew him when he was in the military, or I knew him when he was post-military, or I knew him when he was a police officer. I knew him when he was a business owner. You know what I mean? You could look at any part of my life and go, not that guy. No. But what does Yeshua tell his disciples? You're not respected in your own hometown. You just have to, if you're not received, the message not received, they don't hear the message, dust off your sandals, off you go. And that's kind of what you have to do. So I want to say this again. Many traditional Christian doctrines are based on passages that are so terribly misunderstood due to no understanding of the language, no understanding of the culture, no understanding of the context. So they just go, boom, this is what it means. So there's a greater biblical context here. As Roger notes in Job 1, it is Satan, the accuser, who actively takes away from Job. It's Satan that takes away from Job, but with God's permission. Job 1:12. God said, you just can't take his life. Take anything you want, you just can't take his life. So John 10:10, Yochanan 10:10, John 10:10, adds clarity. Yeshua identifies the thief, often understood as Satan, as the one who comes to steal, kill, and destroy, whereas he came to bring life. Yeshua came to bring life. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So if we take Job 121 as an absolute truth, it would imply God is responsible for both giving and taking in an arbitrary way, which contradicts the nature of God as revealed throughout Scripture. So Job is speaking from his own perspective here. Now, some of you may be freaking out. Whoa, no, it's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. You're saying the Bible's wrong. It's not true. No, what I'm saying to you is you have to, when you read Scripture and someone is speaking, right? And in the case of Job, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. This is Job's view on it based on he's responding to, won't you just curse the Lord and die? He's responding to this very simply and pragmatically. Hey, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away. I'm still going to worship the Lord. So, but in this, he's not speaking theology. He's speaking from his heart, his own perspective, and his limited understanding. God is not the author of evil. He does permit trials for his purposes. James 1:2-4, Romans 8:28. Dr. Moen frequently critiques the idea of, well, God did it. It's the God did it theology. And he and I both agree, and we advocate instead for a deeper look into how the Hebrew worldview understands suffering. Now, there are a lot of people get tired of me saying Hebrew worldview and Hebrew language and Aramaic language and Koine Greek and all that. They hate that. They hate it because it takes away the simplicity of just taking, I don't know, at face value, or the confirmation bias that comes from, hey, this is how I've been taught, and I'm not going to learn a different way. Heretic, that's okay. It's okay. I'm not for everybody. I'm an acquired taste. So your days are set or numbered. This is Job 14:5, if you're taking notes. Roger raises an important distinction between foreknowledge and predetermination. Foreknowledge and predetermination, they sound like the same thing, but they're not. Foreknowledge and predetermination. The Hebrew Bible often presents Job's speeches as his personal reflections, not always theological truth. Now, the postmodern Western evangelical reads the non-Hebrew Bible differently. Reads it differently. This is in truth, this is just Job's speeches, what he's feeling. He's not giving you theological truth necessarily. Yes, we can learn a lot from it, but this is not speaking for God. Job's statements should be weighed in the light of God's ultimate response in Job 38 through 42, where he rebukes Job for speaking beyond his understanding. Job 14:5 says, a person's days are determined. So this can be read as Job's perspective, but it doesn't mean every death is preordained. Well, you can't understand the New Testament unless you study the Old Testament. You're never going to completely understand or even partly understand the New Testament unless you go back and study and understand accurately the Old Testament. Psalm 139:16. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Don't miss that. Are you listening? All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. This suggests that God's omniscience, well, it suggests God's omniscience. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he predetermines the exact moment of death. This doesn't necessarily in all cases mean date of birth, date of death. And see, we've taken that. We've taken that to mean something that it doesn't, and we run with it. But Hebrew thought, and remember, these are Jews. These are Jews in heaven. These people that are being talked about, because they're in heaven, because God made a covenant with his people. Don't get it twisted. These are Jews. They're still Jews. Yeshua was a Jew, is a Jew, will always be a Jew. But see, Hebrew thought separates God's knowledge from forced determinism. He knows all possible outcomes, but doesn't necessarily force a rigid timeline on us. Hebrew thinking allows for human responsibility within divine sovereignty. Now, go back to why my crash. I wish I could find the photos, but I don't have them. I don't have them on this computer. I will put them on there, and I'll show you. I'll try to figure out how to do a slideshow, but I'll show you the photos of my crash. It's insane. It's insane. All of the engineers, all of the safety engineers, all of the metallurgical engineers, all of the physics that were studied of my car, they said that the occupants of this vehicle did not survive. It's that simple. It's just one line. And, the first paramedic and the second paramedic, chief and the deputy chief, they took my vitals, they ran a strip, marked me as dead. Yeah, what can I tell you? I didn't know it for 2 years. I didn't know that. My family didn't know. We found out, through a completely obscure way that we could have never predicted that I had died. We didn't read it in any of the reports. So what do I know? Then we found that out. We were a little bit surprised because it seemed funny to me when I came to. My first recollection is, wow, this hurts. This is some serious pain. I thought for sure I was going to die. I wasn't sure if I was dead, but I figured if I'm dead, I'm not going to be in pain, and I'm for sure in pain. So I was shattered, just shattered. My body was a mangled mess. I was trapped in this little tiny spine was like this, and neck was crunched down, I hit the steering wheel and it was popped out and back, busted a bunch of teeth, broke my nose, thoracic damage, heart damage, it was gross. It was all gross. So I did what I did, when I came to, I prayed a prayer of contrition, because I figured with all the training I've had and all the experience I've had, if I couldn't avoid this crash, that means it was a high-speed, head-on crash. And it's likely I'm going to die. And then I prayed for the people in the other vehicle. I said, this was clearly a high-speed crash. This is bad. And probably somebody or everybody in that other vehicle died. So I prayed for them. And then I prayed a prayer of thanksgiving that my dog wasn't in the car, my dear Buckeye. None of my family was in the car, because they would have been killed for sure. And the fellow, it took him 40 minutes to cut me out of the car. They had to cut the whole left side of the car off. And the fellow, one of the paramedics that was putting me in the ambulance, he said, well, the big guy upstairs has plans for you. And I hate when they call him that. I hate any of the colloquialisms it really reduces. It's just a lack of, I think, reverence. If you haven't listened to it, episode 8, 2 episodes ago, where I talk about the Lord's Prayer and I explain what it really means, that you might really enjoy that. And it'll be revelatory for you. But anyway, point is, it's free. Everything there is free. Anyway, so he made that statement, and he's not finished with you yet. He's got plans for you. The big man upstairs has got plans for you, whatever. And I said, God's got a plan. I don't know how I said it. And I don't know if he really could understand it, because once I realized how jacked up my face was, you're like, why didn't they fix it? I know. So I said to him, God has a plan for all of us. It's up to us to live it, right? To make that choice. The guy on the bridge I talk about on the phone, God had a phone song. God has a plan and a purpose for his life. He's got a plan and a purpose for all of ours. Thank you. Thank you, Tinfoil Hatter. I appreciate that. So there's human responsibility within divine sovereignty, right? Deuteronomy 30, 19 through 20, choose life, right? Suggests that we have a role in the length of our days, right? I have a role in the length of my days. People go, well, I'm going to eat what I want, and I'm going to drink what I want, and I'm going to smoke what I want, and I don't like to exercise, so I'm not going to exercise. I'm just going to do what I want to do, because my days are numbered anyway. Lord knows the beginning and the end. Well, sorry, wrong. You can absolutely exert control. Well, tomorrow I could get hit by a bus. What a way to live, right? Just abdicating all responsibility. It's your body. Hey, you want to do that? It's up to you. But I'm sorry to tell you that is not theologically accurate. It's not godly. It's not how we're to live. I'm just as guilty. We have a role, Deuteronomy 30, 19 through 20. We have a role to the extent possible in our longevity. Now, sometimes genetics. Mama Max, she died in her before she was 60 years old, and she ate incredibly. She was slender. She always took good care of herself. She never took a drink, never smoked. She always was, relatively fit. And she died of cancer. Sometimes it's a genetics thing. Who knows? There's things that can happen. But bottom line is, Proverbs also speaks of wisdom leading to longer life. Proverbs 3, 1 through 2. This suggests, if you're taking notes, Proverbs 3, 1 through 2, this suggests that human choice can impact our lifespan. Now, at a certain point, Job longs for a mediator, right? Job 9, 33 and 34. Roger made this great point that Job longed for a mediator, and now we have Yeshua, right? Job had God because there was that. And Yeshua wasn't, he hadn't sent Yeshua yet. So this is consistent with biblical theology. It's supported by 1 Timothy 2:5. For there is one God and one mediator between God and mankind, the man, Christ Jesus. So I said to Roger, his argument is largely correct from a Hebraic perspective and emphasis on contextual understanding rather than rigid doctrinal statements based on English translations. I'm not throwing... Oh, did any of you see... Yesterday I did a review on this Bible. I've been looking for this Bible over 20 years. It's the Thompson Chain Reference in a premium Bible in the New American Standard Bible 95 edition. Finally found it. There was one. I bought it. Anyway, I did a very detailed review on it yesterday. So if you're, bored, you're interested in Bibles, whatever, that'd be a good one for you to see. And it is in detail. So Job's words aren't always absolute truth. Sometimes they're poetic laments based on his experience, his suffering. David, the psalmist, sometimes he's giving you how I'm feeling. He's saying how he's feeling, right? He's the man on the bridge in my song. How he's feeling. He's jacked everything up so bad. But that's not theological. That's not theological. It's not doctrinal. It's not God's way. The Scripture is relating how he was feeling. It doesn't mean that's how it is. Are you listening? Am I making any sense here? God knows our days, but he doesn't necessarily fix them in a rigid, unchangeable way. His foreknowledge doesn't equate to fatalistic determinism. And that's a term that I try not to use very much on this channel. I try to make things and keep things as simple as I can, but sometimes it's not simple. Fatalistic determination is that thing that, well, you're going to be born on this day. The Lord knows you're going to be born on this day, and he knows you're going to die on this day, and you're going to be this old. Well, okay, don't have any responsibility. I'll just do what I want to do. It doesn't matter. I'll just do what I want. Sorry. You got some responsibility here. The Lord gives and takes away. This is Job's perception, but the broader biblical witness. Now, Job, in essence, wasn't fatalistic determination. I don't know if he was lost everything. I mean, it was terrible. He was in terrible pain. His suffering was incredible. His grief was incredible. It was just crushing. All of these things were real. But he wasn't turning away from God. Even still, that's the lesson to learn here. Not the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. It's a poetic lament. Do you see what I'm saying? Am I making any sense here? God allows suffering, absolutely, but he's not the direct cause of evil. There are a lot of people struggling with grief and trying to reconcile God's sovereignty with human suffering. A lot of people. Maybe you're listening. Maybe you're the person in the poem. Maybe you know someone You know what's funny? Mad tinfoil hatter. Boy, you spoke some truth there. You could study your whole life and still have more to learn about our Lord, Solomon. Fear God and keep his commandments. Boy, that's the truth. It's the truth. And you know, there are so many people. They're struggling. They're trying to figure it out. They're in terrible grief. And they're trying to reconcile, God, are you really in control? Do you really want good for me? If you love me so much, why? Why am I suffering this horrific grief? If you're truly sovereign, why did this happen? Right? I believe very firmly that this discussion, this particular one, could really help believers move beyond a simplistic and potentially harmful interpretation of Job. I so appreciate Roger taking the time. I mean, it was really, really beautifully written. He sends me stuff periodically, and it's just fantastic. I just think, wow, boy, isn't that something? And Samantha, I appreciate your question. Linda sent me a question yesterday. I put it in comments from yesterday's show, the one on Thompson Chain reference, NASB 95. It's a Bible review. And if you look in the comments, the question was excellent, and it was really, really good. It was really, really good. And so, but I encourage everybody, put your comments first in there on the YouTube channel, and then you can send them to me, copy and paste them, send them to me, and I'll answer them in both places. Unless you say, hey, look, I don't know if I'm not 100% sure. I would like people to know that I've asked this question, or maybe I don't mind if you share the question with people and the answer, but please don't put my name in it. You can include all that. smgreener@gmail.com. It's up there at the top, where it says True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. Thank you for listening. No, it's not on there. I lied. It's on the bottom. Please subscribe and share. Contact Shawn at smgreener@gmail.com. Again, send them to me, but also put them in comments if I could encourage you in any way to do that, because it helps the channel and it helps other people. That, I think, is a huge thing. Anyway, thank you so much for joining today. I know this has been, how long has this been? 1 hour and 28 minutes. By the time I finish blabbering, it'll be an hour and 30. Samantha, you are so welcome. Samantha says, thank you so much for answering, Dr. Shawn. It's appreciated more than you know. God bless you and this ministry. Thank you so much. Very, very kind of you. I have to tell you, I absolutely love questions, and I love answering them and helping folks. So for me, you've blessed me, not for nothing. So thank you. So I'd encourage you to go and listen to the other episodes, the book review, the Bible review, the most recent one I did yesterday at 3. It's under the live tab. It's also under, by the way, I don't know if I've ever explained this. You're very, very welcome, Mad Tinfoil Hatter. You're very, very welcome. And I don't know if I've mentioned this clearly, but under the video tab, you will see essentially the same thing. At a certain point, there will be a pop-up on there that looks the same as under the live tab. Under the videos tab, it'll be slightly different, and you think, well, which one am I going to click on? Well, if you want audio only, now this is not right away because it takes a while. I have to process it and post it, and then it goes out to all the places. And then those places copy over to the True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn YouTube channel. So you can listen to your podcast there if you want. But if you listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, 34 different places. If you could just click on like or subscribe or follow or whatever the thing is, I would love that. And if you listen to the podcast on the True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn, click on like. Click on like. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. If you like it, if you hate it, I don't know why you follow me or listen, but just click on like. It's easy peasy, thumbs up, and click on all notifications and the little bell. And that would be awesome. So I appreciate it. Appreciate y'all listening. I look forward to Friday. I will tell you Friday, Friday's going to be something now. Woo! It's going to be something. By the way, speaking of questions, I did get a question from a listener and dear friend just last night, I think, on something I've answered many, many times in other places and when I taught in Bible college. So how long did it take for the Israelites to cross the Red Sea? How many were there? All that. I've researched it and I've created an answer to it. I sent him the answer. I'm going to share that with you at some point. We'll make that into a podcast, but not just yet, because I have several other things rip-roaring and ready to go. And I'm so eager. I'm so ridiculously eager. Let's see here. Friday, 28 March at 6. Now, this is going to be 6 p.m. Let me correct that before I make another mistake. 6 p.m. on Friday. That's our next podcast, unless we do some impromptu thing. This is going to be episode 1, The Conflicts and Harmonies of the Gospel. The conflicts and harmonies of the gospel, right? Well, Bible's not true, because in Matthew it says this one thing about this story, and then over here in Luke it says this other thing, or John says, and then Luke says something different, and then blah, 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 blah. I'm going to explain all of it in detail. So Friday is the introduction. Are the Gospels contradictory or complementary? Can't wait to start that. Let me just tell you. I'm so excited. So that's 6 p.m., Dr. Shawn. 6 p.m. And, I'd look forward to seeing you. Tell your friends, share, click on like, subscribe, all that. And look, I appreciate you listening. You could be doing a million things right now, but you're listening, and I love that, and I appreciate it. I really, really do. And so thank you very much. And if you have ideas for shows, I don't ever run out of ideas. But if you say, hey, you know what I've been really wondering about? Or, this would be a great topic. Email me, smgreener@gmail.com. If you have my phone number, send it to me via text, and we'll get after it. Why not? God bless you. Shalom, shalom. Shalom alaikum. Thank you for joining.